Hi, it's Jackleen. It's good to be talking at you again. I'm here to talk about the full moon in Sagittarius. I hope, first of all, that you're doing well and that the Taurus new moon that we're still kind of under until this full moon on Sunday, the 31st, has given you a lot to process and to work with in a good way, right? Hope it's like a big fruit that you've been able to juice and get all the juice out of. So it was a really good one. I think the one before, the full moon before that, I am still suffering a little bit from whatever that was, that flu situation that happened to me about a month ago. So all the symptoms have not gone away just yet. So I'm going to try to keep this one short as well. But let's talk about the Sagittarius full moon. Okay, so I like to start with the Sabian symbols. It's 10 degrees Sagittarius. The full moon, will happen on Sunday, May 31st at 1:45 a.m. Pacific. Adjust that for wherever you are. And the Sabian symbol for where the moon is, we focus on the moon first because it's a full moon, right? Is at 10 degrees Sag. We have to jump ahead. This is the book I get this from, by the way, the astrological mandala. It's I gave a little bit of the history of it a few videos ago. I pretty much always talk about the history of it, except for the last video I didn't. But anyhow, it's, I think, a wonderful indicator of what's going on for the most part. So the Sabian symbol for this is in the left section of an archaic temple. A lamp burns in a container shaped like a human body. And the keynote on this is the something about the life of the body, or the body as the soul. I'm forgetting exactly how they put it, but the way that I see this is like enlightenment, right? This is enlightenment that either comes through the body, comes through rest, comes through what our practices are, whether they be spiritual, religious, or even just calming, meditative. And I hope you got enough of that done over the last couple of weeks, and you're in a place to then, when the full moon comes, start releasing. Because again, the full moon, the new moon giveth and the full moon taketh away, right? And so if we work on that schedule and we allow things to grow in the 2 weeks following the new moon, then we can allow anything that we no longer need, to disperse. We can refine. We can kind of get down to what's more essential. Clear the runway, basically, in the 2 weeks following the full moon. Okay. So we also have to, because it's a full moon, we have to look at the Sabian symbol of the sun. And I love this one. Newly opened lands offer the pioneer new opportunities for experience. And the keynote was the power of joy and new beginnings. And what immediately I thought about was like unlocking new levels, whether you do that in a game or in your own spiritual enlightenment, your job, whatever it may be, you're unlocking that next level. And I talk about that a lot because I think that's what we're here for, right? We're here to unlock new levels. And so I like that one especially. And the sun is kind of our ego. It's kind of it's our life force. It's what we strive for. It's what we aim for in this lifetime, where the moon is the soul. The moon, to me, is the center of the chart. And I really came into a realization of that a few years ago and began to live more by the moon than by the sun. And it's changed everything for me. So I definitely recommend that. This is a tangent I'll go off on frequently. When I look at a full moon, especially, I like to first look at the troublemakers. What are the things that could go wrong? What are the things? We have a few squares. And one of the squares is Mars square Pluto. That can be the David and Goliath sort of aspect, or the worker versus the boss, or the workers in general versus the bosses in general. We've been seeing a little bit of that, but it does bring a little bit more contention into work situations, power imbalances, things like that. So looking at who you're voting for, supporting in elections, supporting in leadership positions in your workplace or whatever it may be, school, look into, is this person going to support the masses, right? Is this person going to really be the best for everyone? So that's a question that's just, it can't not come up now given the configuration. I'll talk a little bit more about the US chart in this. But another square we see is Venus. Remember, Mars and Venus are the male and female planets respectively, or the active, aggressive Mars, and the sort of the female planet, or the it's the lesser benefic. It's Venus is good things, right? It's beauty, it's justice, it's equality, it's all these wonderful things. But Saturn is squaring that. So the old structures are fighting back against the new sort of equality, or what people are putting forward. This is what I would like. And so whatever it may be, anything that's worth pursuing in your life, whether it's a dream, an artistic goal, a career goal, there's going to be some obstacles. And if you know that and you expect that the obstacles will be there, how are you going to confront those obstacles? This is a good question to ask right now. How are you going to confront challenges that people have to your ideas? How are you going to confront the naysayers if what you're doing requires getting people's approval, right? So thinking about things like that. Another square is Jupiter and Chiron. Now, Jupiter, I've said, unless there's a problem with greed, corruption, too much of a good thing, any good thing, there's usually not a problem with Jupiter, but there could be. This brings up what needs to be healed, because Chiron is the wounded healer. And our patterns, our reaction, our traumas, those kind of things will come to the surface. Usually do in some form around a full moon, because the nature of a full moon is contentious. The head, the sun, and the heart are opposed to each other, right? So we're going to have that tension during the full moon. And so these issues will come up. And how can we not react, or not react as much as we normally do, or change our reaction? That's a question to be asked. And what kind of healing can be had? One of the aspects here, well, it kind of favors talking it through, whether that be with a therapist or a friend group or whatever, a coach, talking through some of these things that come up for you. Because some of them may not be very big issues, but they may cause a big emotional reaction. Okay, so that's that. Aside from the sun and moon opposition is about all the quote unquote negative stuff, right? We have Saturn and Neptune kind of leaving each other's company, saying, okay, it was no fun. Let's kind of go our separate ways. So hopefully you've learned your Saturn Neptune lesson. Like, where was I wrong? Where did I make a false assumption? Where did I follow something that wasn't true? Where did I believe something that wasn't true? So hopefully we've all had that sort of come to Jesus moment, if you want to put it that way, right? That moment where we go, oh, I see now. I see the light. Okay. The good stuff here is, again, talking about things is going to make them better for the most part, right? There are times I would say, don't have that big relationship talk, like during a void of course moon, for example, or during the height of a full moon. Don't wake up at 1:45 in the morning and have that relationship talk, right? Or maybe wait a day or two, because that day on either side can be kind of contentious. But we do have the moon. I was asked to show you the chart here, and sorry that shook things up a little bit. The chart here, the moon is off by itself, right? And what that usually means is the moon's by itself. It's can be a little bit lonely, and it has us exploring the things we do with others versus the things we do alone, and maybe mixing that up a little bit. You might find you're more drawn to doing kind of antisocial things in a social setting, like meditation in a group setting, or doing your writing or studying in a coffee house, where you're not really interacting with people, but you're kind of in the presence of other people. You may be drawn to do something like a silent hike or silent walk with others. Things like that are really favored when the moon's kind of off on its own, where it's just like, it doesn't require you to put forth that much socially, but you can still kind of be in company with others. So notice where loneliness comes up, where what it says to you, or where, on the other side of the coin, solitude comes up. Where might you really want the solitude where you hadn't wanted it before? So that's something to ponder as well. So restrictions that you place on yourself because of where the moon and Saturn are, it's actually a favorable aspect. It's a trine, the best aspect in astrology, usually, arguably. If you can put restrictions on yourself following this full moon, it's a good time to look at your eating habits, for example, and say, okay, what do I need to let go of, eat less of? This is just an example. It could be other habits as well. What habits are no longer serving me? What restrictions can I put on myself? And how can I, if you're one of these people that responds to sort of a gamification of it, how can I gamify that and make it, give myself rewards and give myself check marks? Just writing a check mark gives us a little endorphin release. So doing things like that satisfies Saturn as well. So whenever we have Saturn transits, it's kind of like the opposite of Jupiter. Any contact, even the quote unquote good aspects with Saturn, sometimes rub us a little bit the wrong way, or cause a little discomfort. Whereas everything with Jupiter is usually more positive, right? Unless, again, we want too much of a good thing. All right, so the theme of this year, I want to just, because I was looking at the US chart and talked a little bit about this with Jill last time, that the theme of this horse year, right, is running in packs like the horse, but more than that, it's freedom, right? And so how can we strive for more freedom, attain more freedom for ourselves and others? And this full moon showing up in the US chart is very instructive about how to do that. It's definitely getting in groups with other people, even if they are those silent groups that we talked about earlier, right? So there's definitely that. Fighting for the freedom of others that are less fortunate for you is a good way to kind of increase your own freedom, So what else did I write about that? Oh, it's a good time to get really clear on what your values truly are. You've had that moment where certain illusions have broken, but have you completely factored that in? That's just a question that comes up. Pluto is coming over the nodal axis of the US, and that's important because we just had our Pluto return. That was, again, that 248 year orbit of Pluto came back to where it was at the birth time of the US, and now any Pluto aspects right now we're extremely sensitive to, and coming over the nodes of the moon have to do with how does my purpose fit into the greater purpose, and how can I purpose with certainty with other people during this time, borrowing that line from the Wallace Wattles book that I've mentioned before. Don't like the title of it. It's called The Science of Getting Rich. It's really the science of sort of being your best self, right? Even though it's an old book, it's a classic. We've got Jupiter over Mercury. We've got the other benefic Venus over the Sun. So lots of good things happening. Uranus, that's what I really wanted to talk about, because we're coming up on the Uranus return. We had the Pluto return, coming up on another slow planet conjunction with Uranus. It's going to be exact in about a year, in June, but it comes close enough to give us a taste of what this chart, I've talked about the US chart very specifically. It wants that freedom. It wants that idealism, whatever that means to you, and whatever part of that you want to participate in, whether it be in a small way or a large way. It's being activated right now by the nodes, which again, purpose. The nodes are over the moon, and then we've got this Uranus aspect, which is again idealism, coming up again. The sun right now during this full moon is right over Uranus, which means the moon is opposite it. So some things could happen that are not great, right? Some things that can show us sort of through the opposition of what we want. And so there's going to be a little bit of that. Yeah. Could there be leadership change? Absolutely. Because when we have that Uranus coming over Uranus, first of all, I mean, this is a very, how should I say this? Just like the Pluto return, it's a slower moving planet. It's a big deal. So we have things that change in very significant ways, but I feel like they change in the direction that the country at its birth wanted. Like not so much what the founding fathers wanted, but what the country wanted. And we've talked about that Aquarius moon. The soul of the country is Aquarius, which is freedom loving. It is equality based. It really wants everyone to have a piece of the pie, right? It really wants freedom because that's Aquarian as well. It wants to be managed well. I mean, if you ever worked with people that have significant Aquarius, they're bosses, they can really manage. It might step on your toes a little bit, but significant Aquarian affiliations will really bring that justice into play, especially if the people are using them right. So you're going to see more. We've seen it in little patches of this leadership that we want. And so that's what you vote for, you campaign for. I didn't want to get political. I wasn't going to get political in this. So I hope you don't take this as a left or right thing, okay? I hope you take it as a kind of a power of the people thing, right? How can the most people get what they need and want, right? How can the majority of people have what they need and want? And how can we all kind of live in more harmony? That's Aquarian. That's that age of Aquarius ideal, right? And I feel like we're realizing that. I know it seems to be coming through that opposition right now and seeing all of what we don't want in very vivid ways. But how can we be for what we want rather than against what we don't want? That's important as well. So just back to this general full moon chart. I think it's a good one. Anything Sagittarius is lucky. Sagittarius is also one of our, because it's ruled by Jupiter, it's a lucky place to have the moon. So it's one of our lucky moons. The 4 lucky moons are Cancer, of course. Why am I forgetting Cancer, Pisces, Sagittarius, and why am I forgetting that? Taurus. So those are the 4 luckiest moons, and this is a nice one if we can kind of get over the hump that it is a full moon, and we will have to let go of some things. It's a kind of doing that inventory in advance. I will have more to say on this on Patreon, maybe Facebook, and probably with Jill again soon. So thank you for watching, and happy full moon.